Good evening. The Philippines will receive $500 million in military funding from the U.S. in the face of China's growing assertiveness in the West Philippine Sea. During a press conference on Tuesday, July 30, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken describes the funding as a once-in-a-generation investment to help in the modernization of the armed forces of the Philippines and the Philippine Coast Guard. For his part, Defense Secretary gov't thanks the U.S. government for its continued assistance in boosting the Philippines' capabilities against unlawful foreign aggression. According to Teodoro, the Philippines and the U.S. discussed ways and means of enhancing cooperation and ensure that the Philippines is an effective upholder of international law. Teodoro and Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo met with Blinken and U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin III on Tuesday for the fourth Philippines-U.S. Foreign and Defense Ministerial Dialogue. Earlier Tuesday, Blinken and Austin paid a courtesy call to President Bongbong Marcos. Marcos had expressed his gratitude for the open communication lines between the Philippines and the U.S., especially involving the situation in the West Philippine Sea. The 2+2 dialogue comes after escalating tensions in the West Philippine Sea between the Philippines and China. The most recent encounter occurred on June 17 at Ayungin Shoal, where China Coast Guard members seized and disassembled high-powered guns of Philippine Navy personnel and destroyed Philippine rubber boats. The prosecutor from the International Criminal Court can come to the Philippines and interview suspects in the drug war killings during the Duterte administration, according to Solicitor General Bernardo Guevara. Guevara says the Philippine government can't stop the ICC prosecutor from proceeding with its investigation into killings during former President Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs. However, Guevara points out that the Philippine government is not bound legally to assist the ICC. He explains that the Philippines had already disengaged completely from the ICC since 2019. Former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV earlier shared a document from the ICC's Office of the Prosecutor, which tagged as suspects Senator Bato de la Rosa and 4 other retired and current police officers for alleged involvement in the deaths of thousands of people in Duterte's anti-drug campaign. In 2017, Trillanes filed a supplemental communication with ICC asking the International Tribunal to step in and investigate the alleged crimes against humanity that took place during Duterte's drug war. Vice President Sara Duterte is pleading for protection for her family following the recall of 75 police officers from her personal security team. In a statement on Tuesday, July 30, Duterte thanks Senators Bato de la Rosa, Robin Padilla, and Bongo for their support after De La Rosa called on former police and army personnel to volunteer as security for the vice president. While she tells supporters not to worry about her, Duterte says she only hopes to ensure her family's safety, either in person or online. However, Duterte does not mention if there is any confirmed threat against her and her family. In a previous statement, Duterte questioned what she called the malicious publication of footage of her and her family leaving the country. She also mentioned that police officers recently attempted to case her residence where her children also lived. Philippine National Police Chief General Romel Marbel earlier said the PNP pulled out its men from Duterte's security group as they saw no threat against the vice president. The Senate will start deliberation on the proposed 6.352 trillion peso national budget for 2025 on August 13, with a briefing from the Development Budget Coordination Committee. In an ambush interview on Tuesday, July 30, Escudero says the upper chamber is eyeing to wrap up its deliberations along with a bicameral conference committee report before the year ends. According to Senate Committee on Finance Chairperson Senator Grace Poe, the Development Budget Coordination Committee briefing will be conducted from August 13 to 14, while the budget hearings will run from August 15 to October 18. Poe says that they are aiming to submit the committee report and have it approved by the first week of December. Meanwhile, with the upcoming midterm elections in 2025, Escudero maintains that there is a law that prohibits the use of any government funds, such as aid for the campaign of any aspiring government official. The Supreme Court is allowing the Sandigan Bayan to proceed with a plunder trial of former Senator and now Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Juan Ponce Enrile. Voting 13-0 with 2 justices having no part, the Supreme Court dismisses Enrile's March 2022 petition for prohibition of his plunder case, in which he is accused of pocketing more than 172 million pesos in pork barrel funds. In a 32-page decision, Supreme Court says Enrile's claim that the Sandigan Bayan violated his constitutional rights is without merit. The High Court adds that it does not act on the basis of fear, basis assumptions of bad faith, or conjectures, and similarly expects fairness from litigants. The Supreme Court rules that the prosecution's evidence should not be limited to what is stated in the Bill of Particulars, which provides details necessary for the accused to understand the prosecution's theory and prepare for their defense. The case stemmed from the June 5, 2014 plunder complaint filed by the Ombudsman against Enrile, his chief of staff at the time, Jessica Reyes, Ronald Lim, John Raymond de Asis, and Janet Lim Napoles. In March 2022, Enrique petitioned the High Court to dismiss the plunder case against him, arguing that the prosecution's evidence must be limited to the Bill of Particulars. Among the particulars submitted by the prosecution were the amounts of kickbacks or commissions that the accused were alleged to have received, the projects under Enrile's PDAF, and the names of Napoles' supposed non-governmental organizations that allegedly profited from those projects. The Philippine Coast Guard says the oil sheens along the shorelines of Manila and 4 other areas are only very minimal. In a statement, the PCG says it conducted an aerial survey on Tuesday, July 30, when it observed very minimal and unnoticeable oil sheens along the shorelines of Manila, Bulacan, Pampanga, Bataan, and Cavite. Citing the International Tanker Owners Pollution Federation Limited, the PCG says social media reports showcasing videos and pictures of oil sheens were not indicative of the actual aerial view. MT Terra Nova was carrying 1.4 million liters of industrial fuel when it capsized and eventually submerged off Bataan on July 25. The PCG has since sealed most of the ship's valves and deployed oil dispersants and barriers to contain the spillages. The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources has not yet implemented a fishing ban in adjacent waters, saying these areas are still unaffected by the oil spill. However, PCG spokesperson Rear Admiral Armand Balilo said fishing in areas affected by the oil spill in Manila Bay was not advisable. These are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.